God bless you. So today we are in study. We are continuing the study in Proverbs. Today is chapter 23. So if you would like to open to chapter 23 in the book of Proverbs, then we shall begin. When you sit down to eat with a ruler, consider carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat, if you are a man given to appetite. So, these first two verses here are talking about consider what's before you. Have a look. Yes, there might be some fancy delicacies there. There might be some very luxurious things that you've never seen before, things that cost a lot. Also, if you're someone with a big appetite, don't get greedy. Remember, share and share alike. And don't be the hoarder. Don't be in a hurry to get the doggy bag. It is there for everyone. Putting a knife to one's throat if you are given to appetite. Self-control. To control oneself, do not be a glutton. And the next verse. Do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Remember, just as you are considering what's there, why is it there? Think of that, if it is that is the finest of all finest, those given unto all delicacies and fancies, the luxurious lifestyle, to tempt and to bring one to it. Well, if you like this life, there are things you must do to continue in it. What is the reason before it? Consider everything before you speak. Self-control, always watching diligently. You do not wish to walk into a trap. For if they are deceptive food, what is the reason behind what you see? And then when you start to feel temptation unto it, don't be given to it, because what do we see in the next verse? Do not overwork to be rich, because of your own understanding cease. Those that are hungry for wealth, there are those where they don't consider the work they do, they just consider what's the best paying job, and they go after that one so they can earn as much as they can. Because if they've got enough money, they can have all the things they want. But where your treasure is, there your heart is. You can't love both God and money. You'll love one and despise the other. Everything's dross, it doesn't last. God provides all we need. Be thankful in the food we have, the roof over our head, the people in our lives. Joyous that we have this day to spend with God. Joyous that we can speak and pray and build and spend time with our Father in heaven. Building that relationship. Forging a strong foundation. Because the cornerstone is Christ. Stand on the cornerstone. So that when the winds of the storms that blow, you will not be shaken. And you won't be tempted by fancies and delicacies of the world. So that you can stand steadfast and have no part in the unfruitful works of darkness. Do not be greedy for wealth. For as it says, do not overwork to be rich, because of your own understanding cease. Will you set your eyes on that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away like an eagle toward heaven. Money slips through the hand as water. When one has much, he spends much, and then he is even poorer than he was before. When one has little, they consider carefully how to spend what little they have. When one has much, they spend frivolously and live frivolously and end up in much debt. One must think and not become greedy. Do not eat the bread of a miser, nor desire his delicacy, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. The morsel you have eaten, You will vomit up and waste your pleasant words. A miser, the scrounger, Scrooge, the one that gives and it's like, yes, have some. But really, all they're thinking is they're just taking it all. And remember, the one that doesn't put his knife, the throat with the knife, and just eats and gobbles everything up. Ah, greedy. They're not happy that all is taken. Their mind is elsewhere. Selfishness gives because it feels it has to. It doesn't give because of love. Where the heart is. Just as it said, David, a man after my own heart, a shepherd. Shepherd not only cared for his flock, he cared for his kingdom. So, those pleasant words you'll try to give to a person that is giving for the wrong reasons, they won't hear them. For as you see in the next verse, do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. Just as when Jesus said, be careful with what you say before pearls before swine. Sound familiar? Lest they rend you apart. You see, the things you may say may be sound wisdom, but some people, all they're going to do is put their back out by it and be offended. Of course, to follow Jesus and to be a Christian is to offend. Because you must stand on the teachings of this book and not the teachings of the world. For the world is in opposition of God. God first, not men. Do not remove the ancient landmark, nor enter the fields of the fatherless. For their Redeemer is mighty. He will plead their cause against you. Now there are those, and they say you'll own nothing and be happy. They are greedy, and they will take all from all they can, taking in an unjust manner. We should not be so. Remember, for their Redeemer is mighty, and he will plead their cause against you. And we should be wise as serpents, but innocent as doves, that we may be found blameless, to be harmless. You see, when we should be resigned to loss and expect it. Because there are those where they go into the world and they expect justice of the world, where the judge in the world takes a bribe in this world. We shouldn't expect justice from those that do not fear God. Remember, the lawyers and the judges, they all have to take secret oaths to the court that goes beyond justice itself, but to the court first and foremost. God is the only true justice. Trust in him and plead your cause to him day and night, that he hear your cause and fight for you. For just as it says, for their Redeemer is mighty, and he will plead their cause against you. God fights our battles. Trust in him. Apply your heart to instruction and your ears to words of knowledge. Be prepared to learn. Seek that you may find. Knock that the door be answered. Ask that you may receive. Spend your time in this book and not in the delicacies of the world, for there are many fancies to keep you occupied. The true wisdom is found and given by God. Ask, and he will pour it liberally upon you, just as it is said in the book of James. Lean not on your own understanding, but for God to set your path straight, and do not be wise in your own eyes. God resists the proud, but gives grace unto the humble. So humble yourselves before your Father in heaven, Come as little children, humbly, willing to learn, seeking His instruction, seeking His wisdom, His knowledge, that you can put it to use in your life, learning from Him and growing as you walk with Him. So apply your heart to instruction and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not withhold correction from a child, for if you beat him with a rod, he will not die. You shall beat him with a rod and deliver his soul from hell. We live in a day and age where they tell you you're not allowed to punish the naughty behavior. And look at today. Just as it says, their hearts grow cold, there will be a time. Disobedient, unloving, unthankful, inconsiderate. There's no discipline. When you do not discipline, they'll do whatever they want, because there's no punishment for whatever they do. So they'll do whatever their mind can go to. And who can trust the heart? It is deceptively wicked. Imagine the darkness one can do with idle hands, when there is no instruction and no correction, because all the parents are too occupied by devices that they are looking in, where they can't even walk the road because they have to look at this thing, because it means more to them. They can't even turn it off when they're outside, let alone when they're inside. When they're inside, the big screen's on. When they're outside, the little screen is on. But always a screen to occupy them. Put it down and go out without it. You'll find it much better. God's what's important. Seek Him. Learn from God, for your children are a blessing. Teach them in the ways, that they may learn from them, for when they are old they will not depart from them. Instruct them in the word, and not plonked in front of a television screen. Spend time with your children and cherish them. They grow far too quickly, and those moments, once they're gone, they're gone. And they grow and fly the coop. Instruct them. Take all things seriously, that they may learn from them and grow. Do not be willy-nilly in your parenting, but instruct them just as God instructed His people diligently, earnestly, cared for them. Look at Psalm 23. He is the good shepherd, takes care of all their needs and wants. Do the same with your little ones, that they will grow close to the word that you instruct them with, and let the word be here. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart will rejoice. Indeed, I myself, yes, my inmost being will rejoice when your lips speak right things. When we raise them, that they follow and are instructed by God, putting their faith in God, that He guide them and instruct them. Ask and you receive. It is God who gives the wisdom. So if your heart is wise, my heart will rejoice, for God has blessed them with wisdom, just as God did with Solomon, who asked not to be rich, but to be able to judge God's people wisely. And God made him the wisest of all. May we always stay humble, seeking God for all instruction, so that we do not forget ourselves and ever slip, as Solomon eventually did. Stay close to God always. And then, yes, my innermost being will rejoice when your lips speak right things. Knowing this book, knowing your Bibles, you can put all of this into practice. This will instruct you. This will help you, it will guide you, it will strengthen you. It will save your soul from the pit beneath. Stay in the Word. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but be jealous for the fear of the Lord all the day. So if you see all the sinners and they got all the latest and they're doing pretty well, remember, some of them ain't always doing it the legit way, if you know what I mean, without saying it. You see, those that are rich and wealthy on the big screen, what wickedness they have had to do so they can have what they have. Do not envy them, but be jealous for the fear of the Lord all the day. For surely there is a hereafter, and your hope will not be cut off. Hope in the Lord. His kingdom come, an everlasting kingdom, that we be accounted worthy of it. Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Work out your salvation in fear and trembling. Do not be willy-nilly. Hear, my son, and be wise, and guide your heart in the way. Do not mix with wine-bibbers, or with gluttonous eaters of meat, for the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe a man with rags. You see, they will waste all their day being drunk, and any money they have will go on to continue so they can stay being drunk, and the gluttonous can never eat enough and get enough, and all their money and everything they have will go on their food and their drink, bring themselves to poverty and their body to ruin. The alcoholic, the liver will rot. The glutton, their body will become obese and far, far worse, like a big sack of lard that moves and breathes. It is a sad waste of a life. They will be losing all their wealth, and they won't be rich, because all they have done is stuff their face, giving into all lusts. It's a lack of self-control. There must always be self-control. The gluttonous eater of meat, the wine-bibber, the drunkard, the heavy drinker. There must be self-control, moderation. Think on these things. Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Always remember your parents. Yes, they grow old. We all do. Some grow senile, some they cannot do as they used to. Love and cherish your families while you have them. Take care of them and love them as your very selves. Honor your father and your mother. Buy the truth and do not sell it. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding. These are the true treasures. These are the things you should be seeking. Truth, wisdom, instruction, understanding. Growing in God's wisdom, in God's instruction, in His understanding. We learn from Him. For if we are to follow Him, we are to walk as Him. So learn how to, by studying diligently. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who begets a wise child will delight in him. Let your father and your mother be glad, and let her who bore you rejoice. Put the effort in with your little ones, so they will grow up in the word, heeding its instruction, putting it all into practice from young. All of this book is good for doctrine and instruction. David, a man after God's heart, a shepherd that not only loved and cared for his flock, he loved and cared for his kingdom. Abraham, man of faith, listened and followed and obeyed God. Job, man that had it all and then lost it all. Easy come, easy go, praise be the Lord. through every affliction, through every hardship, staying steadfast in God. All these people throughout Old and New Testament, everything they went through, that they can learn from them and understand. Just as those that have lost their way, that they eventually come back and realize it, just as wicked King Manasseh did with the prayer of Manasseh. And God heard his prayer. Or great mighty Samson, and all that he did, and then he lost his way with women, did he not? And then, after they had finally taken him, the Philistines, and he had lost his eyes and his strength, and a slave, and they brought him out, and his strength had started to come back, and he asked unto God to remember him, and that he could do one last final mighty act for God. If we lose our way, just like the prodigal son, when we are at that pit of despair, to remember, oh God, pull me back. Pull me back. Now, our children that stay in the Word, they are a delight and a joy, as it says here. My son, give me your heart, and let your eyes observe my ways. For a harlot is a deep pit, and a seductress is a narrow well. She also lies in wait as for a victim, and increases the unfaithful among men. There are those that spread the legs most easily. There are those that like to notch numbers on the bedpost. There are those that go from one relationship to the next. Do not be enticed by the easy options. Look unto the Lord to direct your paths. Do not be seduced by the seductress. She is leading you to hell, leading you to ruin, to much drama and much strife. Just because she has a shifty wink or a certain stride that you cannot take your eye from. Seek unto God to set your path straight, to look for a godly woman, a woman pleasing in the Lord's eyes, instead of your own, for you can be easily deceived. So again, remember, let your eyes observe my ways, for a harlot is a deep pit, and a seductress is a narrow well. She also lies in wait as for a victim, and increases the unfaithful among men, bringing many to ruin, making many commit many sins. So be aware of it and consider it. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaints? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Think of all the drama it will bring. That's what you'll have to look forward to when you get involved in such things. So take heed. Those who linger long at the wine, those who go in search of mixed wine, do not look on the wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it swirls around smoothly. At the last it bites like a serpent and stings like a viper. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart will utter perverse things. Yes, you will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea, or like one who lies at the top of the mast, saying, They have struck me, but I was not hurt. They have beaten me, but I did not feel it. When shall I awake that I may seek another drink? Some people drink themselves into utter oblivion. To be completely drunk, to have no self-control, to be lost in complete drunkenness. When your armor is down, you are open to spiritual attack. We are to be sober-minded, because the devil is an adversary, looking for whom he may devour. And these are those times when he can strike. Just one more drink, but that one drink too many, it will bite like a serpent and sting like a viper. Next thing, you'll be trying to walk forwards, but you're going sideways. You're trying to turn, but you're going backwards. You're trying to walk, but you keep falling down. You have to consider and have self-control. Seek unto God. Be focused on God and not the world. Let God set your path. Let him lead you and guide you. Pray, praise, rejoice, and seek him. Let him fill you. Let him guide you. Let him instruct you. Let him strengthen you. Learn and study ever diligently. Read daily. Give thanks to God. Pray and seek him. Trust in him and believe in him. Be prepared for all that is to come. Keep studying. For the more you learn, the more you will grow. These books will help guide you in your life, to keep you on the narrow path so you don't get swayed into the wide, so that you don't get lost in the storm. Stand steadfast in Christ. God bless each and every one of you.